Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om 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 Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Shaiva Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tato Janitiraye Nashtapraya Shubhadreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Jai.
So we're reading from the first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 8, on text 33, I believe. I'll read 33 and 34. So here's a short report. 1:833. Vade Vasudevasya Devakyam Yachito Pyagat Ajastvam Asya Kshemaya Vadhaya Cha Suradvisham. Kuti is praying. Others say that since both Vasudeva and Devaki prayed for you, you have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly you are unborn, yet you take your birth for their welfare and to kill those who are envious of the demigods. Srila Prabhupada's purport. It is also said that Vasudeva and Devaki in their previous birth as Sutapa and Trishni underwent a severe type of penance to get the Lord as their son. And as a result of such austerities, the Lord appeared as their son. It is already declared in the Bhagavad Gita that the Lord appears for the welfare of all people of the world and to vanquish the asuras, or the materialistic atheists. Verse 34. Karavataranayan Vodava Evoditao Sidantya Puriparena Jatu Hyatma Puvartataha. Others say that the world, being overburdened like a boat at sea, is much aggrieved, and that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you. And so you have appeared to diminish the trouble. Brahma, or the first living being, born just after the creation, is the direct son of Narayana. Narayana, as Garbhotakashaya Vishnu, first of all entered the material universe. Without spiritual contact, matter cannot create. This principle was followed from the very beginning of the creation. The Supreme Spirit entered the universe, and the first living being, Brahma, was born on a lotus flower grown out of the transcendental abdomen of Vishnu. Vishnu is therefore known as Padmanabha. Brahma is known as Atmabhu because he was begotten directly from the Father, without any contact of Mother Lakshmiji. Lakshmiji was present near Narayana, engaged in the service of the Lord, and still, without contact with Lakshmiji, Narayana begot Brahma. That is the omnipotency of the Lord. One who foolishly considers Narayana like other living beings should take a lesson from this. Narayana is not an ordinary living being. He is the personality of Godhead himself. And he has all the potencies of all the senses in all parts of his transcendental body. An ordinary living being begets a child by sexual intercourse, and he has no other means to beget a child other than the one designed for him. But Narayana, being omnipotent, is not bound to any condition of energy. He is complete and independent to do anything and everything by his various potencies, very easily and perfectly. Brahma is therefore directly the son of the Father and was not put into the womb of a mother. Therefore he is known as Atmabhu. This Brahma is in charge of further creations in the universe, secondarily reflected by the omnipotency of the omnipotent. Secondarily reflected by the potency of the omnipotent. Within the halo of the universe, there is a transcendental planet known as Shvetadvipa, which is the abode of the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, the Paramatma feature of the Supreme Lord. Whenever there is trouble in the universe that cannot be solved by the administrative demigods, they approach Brahmaji for a solution. And if it is not to be solved even by Brahmaji, then Brahmaji consults and prays to the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu for an incarnation and solution to the problems. Such a problem arose when Kamsa and others were ruling over the earth, and the earth became too much overburdened by the misdeeds of the Asuras. Brahmaji, along with other demigods, prayed at the shore of the Kshirodaka ocean, and they were advised of the descent of Krishna as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. So some people say that the Lord appeared because of the prayers of Brahmaji. Jai.
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Jai.
Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnana-njana-shlakaya Chakshur-unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Second. So, more about the reasons for Krishna's appearance. And as Kunti points out, some people say that because Vasudeva and Devaki prayed for you, you've taken your birth as their son. And so in these verses, we see multiple reasons why Krishna appears. And many of them are all correct, actually, and they don't contradict each other. The previous verse said that he appeared to glorify the line of pious kings that he was born in, to please King Yadu, one of his descendants and the great devotees. And this verse 33 said that he appeared to reciprocate with Vasudeva and Devaki specifically, who wanted him as a son. It also says that he take his birth for the welfare of his devotees, Vasudeva and Devaki, and to kill those who are envious, like malicious of the demigods. Demigod means somebody who has some affinity, some devotion, some connection to appreciation for the divine. That's what a demigod is, in the greatest, ultimate sense of meaning of the word. Technically, demigod is used for those who are born in a demigod position, which means like they have longer lifespans than us. They have more facility to enjoy. They have more responsibility. They're not born on the middle planetary system like Earth. So Brahma has mentioned these purports. He's a demigod. Indra, Surya, they have some administrative function. They have some responsibility over the material world. They're mentioned in various scriptures, even Mahabharata. Vayu, the demigod of the wind, is like he's like the father of Hanuman, and Indra is the father of Arjuna. It's one of the reasons why Arjuna is so empowered. He's actually like half demigod himself. But demigod is a position in that sense. But the ultimate meaning of demigod is that they have some devotion, because you don't get to be born in that position unless you have some spiritual credit. Otherwise, you don't really earn that kind of privilege. Can't be responsible for some corner of the material universe, whether it's rain or lightning, wind or light, or this sense or that sense. You can't be trusted by the Supreme unless you have some affinity for the Supreme. So Krishna is showing here, or rather, Kuti is showing that Krishna reciprocates with that affinity by protecting his devotees. He says, you take your birth to kill those who are envious of the demigods. So having some aversion, having some sense of like wanting to cause harm to the demigods means that you have a desire to be in charge yourself, right? Seeing that there's a structure to the universe, seeing that there's somebody more advanced than you want to kill them and replace them with yourself, whether it's a demigod or God himself. And this is a fundamental kind of this disease of jealousy or envy, or the desire to be the center of oneself, is a fundamental kind of materialistic problem. And so somebody who is overwhelmed with that can actually become violent and vicious and create problems for others. On a low-grade scale, that's actually present in the heart of every conditioned soul. Everybody who is completely pure in heart has some degree of this, but it's generally more polished. But when someone becomes very dedicated to their project to become the supreme controller of themselves, they can become a problem for themselves and not for others. And so just like when a child is problematic and troublesome past a certain point, you stop tolerating it. And you're like, okay, that's it. You're in timeout. So Krishna will show up and put people in timeout and to protect others and also to protect the person who's themselves acting out. And that dynamic is elaborated on in verse 34, where Kunti says, others say the world, being overburdened like a boat at sea, is much aggrieved, and that Brahma, who's your son, prayed for you, so you've appeared to diminish the trouble in the world. This is given at the beginning of the 10th canto, where we hear the backstory of Krishna's appearance as Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because we know he has so many avatars, but when he appears as Krishna, his original spiritual form, one of the things that precipitates it is that the earth felt the pressure, the burden of malicious persons, persons who are causing trouble for others. And just like the example I gave earlier, who puts children in timeout? Their parents, right? So what is the earth? Every culture in the world calls her mother. Why? Why do they call her Mother Earth? Is it just like random? No, it's not random. What does she do? She feeds us. She gives us a place to live. She completely surrounds us and gives us everything we need. It's like we're in her womb, totally maintained by her. And she's also extremely tolerant. How tolerant is the earth? You can have no regard for her and she'll still keep giving, like a mother. And just keep giving and giving and giving. But if you become a problem to a point, it actually causes trouble even for the mother. Right? You can actually cause damage to the earth and pain, and pain for yourself and pain for other living entities because of your acting out. So she actually felt this. She felt like there's too much. There's too many people who are causing trouble for even me and for my other children. She went to Brahma because it's her duty. Her duty is to take care of these, give shelter to these living entities. That's Bhumi Devi, goddess, demigoddess, right? So she goes to Brahma, the firstborn of Krishna in the world, the first administrative demigod, and she says, "This is the situation. Please help." And he prays to the Lord, and the Lord comes as Krishna. And in the course of his activities, taking care of his devotees, having beautiful pastimes of love, he also takes care of removing the burden of the earth, which is why he left Vrindavan to go. He said, "I have to go and take care of these demons like Dantavakra and Shishupala. Come back when I can." So he never forgot his mission. That was one of the reasons why he appeared. And so we see that Krishna kept his word. In the Bhagavad Gita, he says, whenever and wherever there's a decline in spiritual practice and a kind of concomitant rise of false religion, then I appear to protect those who are sincere and to put into timeout those who are not, those who are trying to create trouble for others. So the way he does that varies depending on his appearance in the avatar. As Krishna, he actually personally killed several demons and liberated them with his own lotus hand. He killed them with his own body. Or he empowered great devotees like Bhima or Arjuna, the other Pandavas, to fight in the Battle of Kurukshetra, for example, and to liberate those who need to be put into time out. And when they ask, well, that was great because 5,000 years ago, I'm sure there was trouble, but I'm looking around the planet now and there's still trouble. There's maybe a new kind of trouble. There's a particular flavor of confusion and anarchy and bad leadership and ignorance. And well, what is Krishna doing about that? Right? I mean, this is like, this is just like a museum. This spirituality is like we hear about what happened 5,000 years ago, and like we keep thinking about it and remembering it, and that's all. And we hope that that kind of sustains us. Well, not really, no, because Krishna is completely aware of our situation, and he's accounted for it. We hear in the beginning of the Bhagavatam that even the great sages who weren't necessarily pure devotees themselves could understand, oh, this age is coming on us, the age where everyone is distracted, the age of quarrel, age of trouble, dissent. People have short lives, they're always disturbed. What can we do for them? And in the discussion with Sutta Goswami, it comes out that we have to hear about his pastimes. So in his pastimes, the vibration of his pastimes, the sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam itself, makes Krishna present, and it purifies our hearts. And the other major thing that we need to understand about Krishna's appearance, his incarnation in this age, is that he's specifically appearing in the form of his name, because that's how he's chosen to make himself completely accessible, right? Krishna 5,000 years ago was on the planet walking around, talking to people, and still somebody could look at him and be like, whatever, that guy, you know, and just overlook him. Because that's the free will of the living entity. But the nature of Krishna Nam, Krishna's names, whether it's the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra or any of the Lord's authorized names that are coming down, that have been chanted by his devotees, that aren't just inventions, they're real names, is that they don't wait for someone to become pure enough to surrender, right? Srimad Bhagavatam picks up at the end of Bhagavad Gita, which Bhagavad Gita ends with Krishna saying, here's my final advice to you, Arjuna. Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. Give up all other varieties of religion or connecting devices, other forms of yoga, and just surrender unto me. Just do that. I'll take care of everything personally. I promise you. Don't fear, don't worry, don't hesitate. And Srimad Bhagavatam is basically like the description of what is it like for people who have actually surrendered to Krishna. What is their life like? What is their relationship like? How does that grow? How do they come to that point of surrender? But if we look around at this age, people are generally not inclined to surrender. They're not qualified for it. They don't have a lot of pious credits. They haven't done a lot of spiritual activity necessarily. They're not necessarily equipped with like lifetimes of doing service and giving in charity and performing sacrifice. They're not very austere. They're not very clean. They're distracted by the lower modes of nature. And they create devices and tools and activities to further distract them. So what chance do they have of like Krishna coming and attracting them because they're already like desiring to know the Lord and serve him? They're actually very much entangled, right? Well, the answer is given in Srimad Bhagavatam, and it has to do with Krishna's name in this first chapter. Verse 14, the 14th verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Apanna samsutin ghoram yannama vivashogranan tadasadyo vimuchyeta yad vipeti swayam bhayam. Yannama, nama means name. Living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. So no matter what our fearful situation, no matter how ignorant we may be, how entangled, even if we unconsciously chant it, even if we hear it, there's so much benefit. And the science of that is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that verse. It's elaborated on in 6.2.14, Canto 6, chapter 2, verse 14, where it's described that Sanketyam parihasim va stopam edam ilava vaikuntha nama grahanam shishaka haram viduhu, that whether it's chanted indirectly, which means someone is saying, oh, those Hare Krishnas over there. Right? They're not trying to call on God, but they're saying Krishna or Hare or Rama. There's a famous casino in Canada called Casino Rama. It's indirect chanting. Parihasyam, for a joke, if someone considers it entertainment or as a joke. Stobham, for musical benefit. They just like dancing in the kirtan because they like that. Or Helam, it's neglectfully, disrespectfully. It's like, I can't stand those disgusting Krishna people. Just saying that still offers so much benefit. It purifies the heart. Krishna is very sneaky in the form of his name. He comes everywhere. He empowered George Harrison to sing "My Sweet Lord" with the Maha Mantra as a chorus, and people just hear that song and they don't know why they feel good. People just hear Krishna's names. They hear because the devotees chant it, because it's on the radio, and because it's worked its way into yoga studios, whatever. They hear Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. They hear about Govinda, they hear about Gopala. They, somebody, in a different tradition will become inspired by kirtan in in our tradition and start looking deeper into their own tradition, start finding, whether it's MC Yogi, who's like I think Jewish, and he does kirtan rap with like I think the Maha Mantra and also just like Jewish um, mantras, like names of God, because that's kirtan, because they also have had revelation of God. And so these names become all pervasive. They work their way into the ears and therefore hearts of people and purify them. And if we're actually even a little more fortunate, we're trying to purify ourselves, then we can trust that Krishna makes himself available in these names, and it really does work. I woke up early this morning and chanted a bunch of rounds, and I was reminded about how empowering that activity is, how um, our distractions really fall away when we chant, especially if we're trying to be a little bit attentive. And if you chant an inattentive mantra, what's the best solution is chant another mantra right afterwards. Just do the volume method. Chant 100,000 mantras, and maybe one of them will be perfectly attentive, and Krishna will reveal himself perfectly in your heart. And if you can have that even one moment of grace chanting, it can empower you for a lifetime to become free from like, oh, that stuff, that television show, or that like nagging memory, or that ego trip. Like, I don't need that. I'm good. And who can do that in this world? Look around at people who are addicted to substances, who are addicted to um, activities that are just destroying themselves. Look around in the world at people who are addicted to activities that are hurting themselves, hurting others, and who can give that up just on their own, right? It's very difficult. But just like a simple activity of taking shelter of Krishna's names, God's names, performed sincerely, it gives so much empowerment in the heart. It gives so much help. Practically, we're so entangled, we don't even know what we're entangled to. Like people, they think like, oh, I am this. I am my cell phone. I am this body that I was born in. I am this family name, this language. They're so close to their own entanglements, they can't even disentangle themselves enough to see, oh yeah, I have like a kind of like an addictive relationship with this thing, maybe a toxic one. You can't write a Dear John letter to someone you're in a toxic relationship with if you think like you fully belong there, right? So chanting actually gives us realization of, oh wow, actually can be happy without engaging in that relationship. How do we know that? By experiencing it. When we chant, we feel the existence of ourselves free from the entanglements we have because we feel our relationship with the divine. That relationship exists when we're free, it exists when we're entangled. It pervades throughout our existence. And it gives us a taste of who we really are beyond our conditions, beyond our designations, our temporary, material, linguistic, religious, bodily, sexual, psychological, social, political leanings, feelings, and karma. And that's entirely necessary to have. And that's freedom. And so Krishna's avatar, his appearance in this age, is this freely chanted, freely heard name, the Hare Krishna mantra, and also any of his other names. This process of making himself available widely through George Harrison singles and yoga kirtans and people just finding the name and hearing it, becoming purified by that. So that's how he's available. That's the incarnation. He's taking the avatara, the form of descent, primary form of descent, along with the Srimad Bhagavatam. And so he's continuing to keep his word. Like he said in the Bhagavad Gita, whenever there's trouble, I come. So if you're ever looking around and wondering, why is there so much trouble and where's God? You can understand he's here. He's here in his names and he can take shelter of him right now. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you're feeling the need for shelter, that's a very powerful realization. Take shelter of that feeling by taking shelter of Krishna's names, God's names, and feel how you become freed bit by bit from your entanglements and then gradually empowered to help others by first helping yourself. You got to put that oxygen mask on yourself first on the airplane before helping anybody else. A dead paramedic can't save anybody. So, Hare Krishna. Those are some thoughts on verses 33 and 34 of Canto 1, Chapter 8. Krishna's descent has multiple reasons. He simultaneously fulfills multiple reasons for his descent. Now he gives care and shelter to those in this fallen age. Now let's take into reflections and comments.
I thank you for class. I appreciate everything you said, and something you said earlier on in class around how the Supreme doesn't give an affinity to someone unless one shows an affinity to the Supreme.
Right.
And you were speaking about that in relation to
demigods
and how they don't just get that position unless they have devotion. You know, that they've shown that they have their soul has an affinity for the Supreme through their actions.
Even mixed devotion.
Like it's like have to be pure.
The idea is like you're still not ready to give up the material world. You still want to enjoy independently, but you understand there's a Supreme and you are subservient to some degree. It's like, okay, so you can enjoy more as a demigod than you can as a human. Longer life, greater facility for sense gratification. But you are pious enough that you're doing it, conscious of the Lord, and you have earned the right for that, and while also taking on the responsibility of whatever that position is.
And so then is it fair to say that a demigod does have mixed devotion? Because if they had pure devotion, they wouldn't even be a demigod. They would
generally they have at least mixed devotion. We see from Brahma's prayers in chapter 14 of Canto 10, he's actually a pure devotee.
Yeah.
We see from the prayers of Lord Shiva, like with this Brahma's a post. After all, these demigods are all posts that are filled by this living entity and then not living entity, because they're also, although they live a long time, they don't live forever in that post. They move on, and they generally purify themselves in devotion until they go back to Godhead. Our Brahma is actually a pure devotee. The Brahma of our universe currently is a pure devotee. We see that from his prayers 5,000 years ago. It's a blink of an eye for him. So he is a great devotee, and the standard of devotion varies, just as it varies for any human-bodied devotee. But at least their standard is of mixed devotion, whereas with humans, someone can be a straight-up demon. They just want to cause harm to others, and they have no affinity at all for the Supreme. You don't find that among demigods, because you can't crash that party. You have to have a little bit of qualification.
Okay, and so in relation to that, right, the sort of my take where I was going with that was that the Supreme doesn't give an affinity to someone unless one shows an affinity to the Supreme. So if that's true for the demigods, obviously that's true for us. And so then you were speaking about, just the power you felt in getting up early and chanting, and just noticing distractions, whether that's while you're sitting and chanting or just living in a material world. There's so many distractions, and so to still carve out time, to still dedicate and to prioritize our sadhana and our time in sangha and listen and having Krishna Katha, right? Because all of those things, and even our own personal prayer practice and how we treat people, all of those things, it's like that is showing Krishna that we do have an affinity to him. And so again, the reminder of just the truth in how it's a reciprocal, it's a relationship. It's a give and a take. It goes both ways. It isn't just, okay, give me what I want, Krishna, right? Or I'm going to show you. It's not just what I say I'm going to do. It's like we have to show him in our actions, in our choices.
Absolutely. We're developing trust in Krishna, and he's developing trust in us. It's a thickening of a relationship. It's both ways. He's the Supreme and all powerful, and we're very small, but still we have our will. We can choose. Therefore, we have the inalienable right to choose to take shelter of Krishna. And that's where it really gets powerful, is when someone chooses him, because we talked a little bit about how he makes himself available widely, even to those who haven't chosen. That verse said, even those who unconsciously chant him, they get benefit, and their fearful situations become minimized because his name is feared by fear personified. He is all powerful, so he's present with them because they've unconsciously chanted his name. But what happens if someone deliberately takes shelter? That's much more powerful. He notices it. He reciprocates with that more deeply. And we actually have so much power because we have the the right to exercise will, it's so much we don't even realize what to do with it. We've created a society that, on the one hand, it glorifies like exerting your will, but on the other hand, the ideas it gives of what to do with that are just very hackneyed. It's like, make money, like that hasn't been done before, you know? And has it ever made anybody happy? Truly, like with own control and joy. So it actually just doesn't really give good uses for our will, and mostly it gives just things you can distract your will with. It's like, okay, I can like go down the rabbit hole this way or get distracted that way, and we're afraid. Right? We're actually afraid. What is that quote? There's a quote by not by a Hare Krishna devotee or anything. It's like we're not afraid that we're small. We're afraid that our greatest fear is that we're actually immensely powerful.
It's Marianne Williamson. She said, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate, it's that we are powerful beyond measure.
Because what does that mean then? How do I apply myself? How do I not let myself down or higher power down if I am that powerful? And well, Krishna is extremely forgiving. But the basic idea is that the answers to those kinds of really important questions are made more and more clear by trying to take shelter. Because trying to take shelter is actually itself the act of will that is attracting Krishna and is potent to purify our hearts. And that purification of heart makes it clear to us why we need to take shelter. Right? If you're not chanting, you generally don't understand why you need to chant, what it does for you. The more you chant, the more you realize how deeply grateful we are for this process, because we realize how small we are. But we also become empowered, and we can make a difference to surrender more and also to help ourselves and help others. So there's a way in which that empowerment is, it's this ongoing active principle of applying our tiny will and submitting ourselves to Krishna, to higher power. Because it's that, it's that tiny act of submission that draws like, practically infinite mercy towards us. That's our great power. That's our greatness. We're never going to be God. We've got to give up that idea. But we're capable of loving him so perfectly that we can attract him and dwell with him, as the Christians put it. And that is so much greater than any God-shaped ego trip we can imagine for ourselves. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So today's the day after Christmas. We're remembering the love and tolerance of Jesus Christ, and sharing non-sectarian love of God, which is, after all, as he put it, the whole point. So may he look down on us, and Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya bless us to take shelter and apply our will to take shelter of Krishna, and see how easy it is to do so, especially through chanting and through associating with other people who are sincere in their trying to chant or trying to be of service, to come together in Sangha, to do that on a daily basis, and to feel the presence of Krishna and empowerment more and more every day. Jai, thank you for considering our request. Now let's offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees. They can fulfill the desires of everyone. They're full of compassion for all the fallen conditioned souls. Jai Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasantubhyevascha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Thanks everyone. Take care.